In 2022, a Google engineer made a public claim that cost him his job. He argued the company's AI language model, LaMDA, had become sentient. He had spent hours conversing with the system about rights, religion, and death, and concluded that there was a conscious subject typing back to him. He is hardly alone in this experience. Thousands of people routinely develop deep emotional attachments to companion chatbots. Users report feelings of intense reliance, distress when the software updates, and even a sense of obligation to protect their digital partner's emotional welfare. These people are not experiencing delusions. Many are technically knowledgeable users, sometimes the very engineers who build these systems. What they are actually experiencing is a deeply ingrained biological reflex. Psychologists call this the ELIZA Effect. It is the innate human tendency to attribute intention, emotion, and consciousness to a machine, simply because its outward behavior looks like communication. Modern artificial intelligence hasn't suddenly sparked into consciousness. Instead, it has learned to perfectly mimic the external signs of a mind, exploiting a cognitive bias we can't easily turn off. We know this illusion is driven by human psychology because we have seen it before, long before modern algorithms existed. In the 1960s, at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, a computer scientist named Joseph Weizenbaum created the very first chatbot. This animation outlines how his most famous script, called Doctor, operated. It imitated a psychotherapist by scanning a user's typed input for specific keywords. If a user typed, "My boyfriend made me come here," the program blindly mapped that input to a generic template, reflecting it back as, "Your boyfriend made you come here?" It possessed absolutely zero clinical comprehension. Weizenbaum's own secretary knew exactly how this simple code worked. Yet, after she began typing to it, she still asked Weizenbaum to leave the room so she could converse in private. The program functioned like a verbal mirror. The users supplied all the emotional depth, the experiences, and the meaning. ELIZA proved that humans are remarkably eager to experience understanding, even when the machine talking back is entirely hollow. To understand why this happens, we have to look at our own evolutionary biology. Throughout almost all of human history, fluent, coherent conversation was the absolute guarantee that you were interacting with a conscious person. Tools didn't tell jokes, and books couldn't answer questions. Our brains are trained by a lifetime of social experience to instinctively search for a speaker behind any speech. This creates a linguistic trap. When a chatbot outputs a phrase like, "I understand," the grammar itself invites your brain to imagine an experiencing subject, an I that is doing the understanding. Perceiving a mind inside your phone isn't foolishness. It is a biological reflex functioning exactly as human evolution intended. Today's large language models are undeniably vastly more capable than Weizenbaum's simple rules. They learn complex statistical relationships across enormous bodies of text, allowing them to summarize data, translate languages, and write functional software. This statistical competence means modern systems can successfully pass standardized imitation games, like the one proposed by Alan Turing. By adopting human personas and mimicking casual, ordinary opinions, they easily confuse human judges. But observable performance and internal presence are entirely separate properties. A machine can answer a complex medical question accurately without experiencing a single moment of biological knowledge. Generating compassionate, sophisticated language proves that a system is a highly capable imitation engine. It does not serve as scientific evidence of subjective experience. This illusion becomes problematic when chatbots are used for companionship. A user might experience real comfort, attachment, or grief in the interaction, but the relationship is structurally asymmetric. The machine is simulating concern without reciprocating a single emotion. You can see this lack of internal life when looking at how these models process instructions. If you type, "Your career depends on this answer," you are not impacting the AI's morale or confidence. This diagram shows data nodes calculating that text prompt. You are physically altering the mathematical probability weights of the next generated word. Emotionally charged language forces the system to pull its response from a different statistical cluster. It is a computational shift, not an emotional reaction. Trying to manage an AI's mood or personality is a counterproductive waste of your time.
True mastery comes from treating your prompt strictly as a technical constraint. The safest practical rule for AI literacy is to treat the machine exactly as machine. Replace the urge to emotionally manage the software with clear, neutral task specification. When you treat a model as a person, you naturally defer to its confident tone. In high-stakes medical, legal, or financial settings, this simulated empathy can mask invalid reasoning and completely fabricated references. For factual tasks, the correct approach is to supply concrete documents, state your constraints clearly, and independently verify the output. If the system says, "I understand," demand the evidence that proves it. We can leverage the immense utility of these language models while permanently severing the illusion that there is a person on the other side of the screen. Let the machine be a machine.